How's it? JP Mauisurfreport here. Today we're gonna review a couple of foils. I got the Armstrong 1550 V2 and the V1. As you can see, they're fairly different shapes, and I know this one already. First time I try this one, so I'm going to try to compare them. I want to show first some difference here on length. Obviously, it's pretty obvious that if you look at this wingspan, the version 2 is much wider, and the cord instead it's wider on the version 1. That means that the V2 is higher aspect, and also there are differences. I would say the biggest one is in the wingtips. The version 1 kind of, they bend down, and I think I like that a lot. As a premise, I should say I'm a bit of a low aspect kind of guy in general, as you can see, and I do like the downward tips because they feel like they grab in the turns better, they initiate the turn easier. So on land, I think this is going to be the biggest difference that I forget. So it's the thickness of the profile. So that is how the V2 looks like. Much thicker profile in the V1. So no question, I mean, for the, I'm not a massive expert, but I have foiled many different foils. This one's going to be faster because it's thinner, and this one will be probably more maneuverable because it's got a shorter wingspan. It should be easier to put on the roll, but who cares about what I think on land? Let's go in the water and test it. The thing I want to show before I hit the water is the NSI plastic hook, harness hook. I love this guy mostly because if you're in a situation in which you need to emergency lay down on the board and paddle because you're going on rocks and stuff like that, you don't have to worry to slide this to the side, which still can easily do, as you see. You can just lay down, the thing will bend and not poke into the board. You might leave a little mark in the pad, but it doesn't break the board, so it's awesome. I like it so much that I use 2 of them. I show you how in the water. Jason Hall, thank you for the idea, and let's hit the water. It is really light and freaking gorgeous. Hey, just started. There are some gusts. I'm gonna try to get going on this one. The amazing pumping of the F1 wings worked again. The first I'm using right now is the version 2 1550. So let me do this little turns like this. Gotta slow down to do these tight turns. It feels pretty loose. Somehow I think it doesn't really have the flow and continuity of the version 1, but I'm gonna do the same with the version 1 later and compare. So let's wait until then. Oh, it's windy here. Damn it. I'm a light wind lover. Look at the way it glides. I'm not doing almost anything, and I'm almost got no wave behind me. And the thing glides. Yeah, that probably is superior to than the version 1. But tiny ones, and again, if I gently keep pumping, look at this, the thing glides. Oh, sure it does. All right, so now quickly I want to show you, if you're one of those that never changes stance for whatever reason, so I can use the side hook to hook in. Yes. Now this is an F1, it's the 5.0, I better don't touch the tip. So already with the hook in like this, I am saving energies. I'm not using my arms as much, but the thing becomes even more effective if I find the courage to let go with my right hand, which is the back hand at the moment, and grab it here. So now you see my left hand is completely free, and I can steer the kite by, this will be the opposite, like sheet in is push out and sheet out is push in. That's a little tricky for the brain if the first time you do it. I think kiters do this all the time, so for them, ooh, turtle, I avoided it. For them should be easier. Okay, version 1 under the boards with the gust coming. Let's see how it gets up on the forward. Hopefully I'm gonna miss that buoy. Yeah, gusty. There we go. Effortless. Look at that. Try to find out some top speed. Well, you know, it's going, but it seems a touch less than the other one. I don't have a GPS, and it's pretty similar. I'm surprised. I thought this was going to be considerably slower. Instead, it's just a little bit slower as far as top speed. It is slower though, yeah. So that feeling of smoothness and control comes also from the fact that you're not going crazy fast and scared to hell like I am when I go fast on a foil. So the glide is significantly better on the version 2. I think that's the biggest difference I noticed so far. More than the speed. It's not that this one doesn't glide, but yeah, you gotta start pumping a little earlier than the other one. It just slows down faster, and that means yeah, you got to start pumping it faster. I mean, quicker or earlier than the other one. Yeah, that's the definition of glide. You know, the other one glides longer. So, what is this foil better for? As I said, there's always a compromise between pros and cons. It's the smoothness and the flow that makes it such a fun and comfortable, never lose control kind of foil. Look at this, just this little, the redirection, the changes of yaw and roll are super smooth on this one. Oh man, what a pleasure. I'm afraid I need to get both. I kind of was thinking that already. So the wave riding, I'm gonna pick it, is a little superior in the version 1. So whenever there is changes of roll and yaw involved, I like the version 1. In other words, when I'm surfing on a wave, this one is just more fun. Look at that, so amazingly smooth. Woo! The other one is faster and longer gliding. Well, the ability of the version 1 is still pretty dang good, but maybe a touch less than the version 2. And so is the top speed and the glide. What is better is that carving on a wave. Still decent glide, but it slows down a little earlier, sooner than the version 2, and that's because it's thicker profile. Sorry, I do have the camera in the mouth now, so I took a little weed. It's just smooth as hell. So, everything I was guessing on the land earlier is confirmed in the water. The V2 is faster, it glides longer, and yeah, actually I found out it goes up wind a tiny little bit better. Conversely, the V1 right here is definitely a little slower, but not by much, and it's noticeable though. It doesn't glide quite as long. I would say that's the biggest difference, really, the glide. And it is more fun to carve though. It's just so smooth and flowy. The shocking part, so this is all kind of, I was expecting that. The shocking part is that if I had to pick one, and I have to pick one, I want to pick one, I still don't know which one I want to pick. Wow, what a tough test this was. I spent 1 hour on the V2 first, and then 1 hour on the V1, and I still didn't know which one I want to buy, because that's why I'm doing this for. I want to decide which one to have. Then I had another half hour on the V2, and I'm just going to tell you the pluses of each one. The V2 is faster, it's got less drag when going through the water, it's got longer glides. It takes longer time before it comes down and you need to pump again. This one, of course, is slower, it glides shorter, but it just goes rail to rail in a wonderfully continuous and flowy manner. And it's just the continuity of the transitions is what's really fun about this foil. The V2, it does some tight turns too, but just like all the higher aspects for this, now really high aspect, you know, that Armstrong makes some much higher aspect than this, but the more you go towards high aspect, the more the turns are like, and somehow, sometimes, I would say that this one was feeling the turbulence under the water a little more, it was a little more sensitive than that. That, with those curvy tips, I don't know if that's what it is, or just because it is a little slower, maybe that's why you wouldn't feel the turbulence as much. It's just like a knife through butter. It's just always smooth and curvy. So, it's personal, the decision. What do you like more? Speed, you go on that one. Or pumping, you wanted the pumping monkey, you get that one. If you like carving smoothly on small size waves, of course they are like pretty big foils, you don't want to do anything big on either one, then this one would be the way to go. So I was still not sure, and I needed an extra day. I needed an extra day to come up with a decision, because what I need this foil for is for extremely underpowered conditions, really like wind. And that day wasn't quite that, it was light, but in the gusts there was plenty of wind to get up on a foil. So yesterday was instead much lighter. I got myself an F1 6 meter CWC, freaking love it. And I could test the two foils and see which one was coming up of the water easier. And I came up with this interesting conclusion here. I'm gonna throw some number, but of course I couldn't measure. I'm just gonna use it as an example. I felt that the version 2 might require a slightly higher speed to start lifting. Let's call that, I don't know, 5 knots. The version 1 might start coming up at maybe 4 knots of speed. But the surprising thing is that to get to 5 knots with the version 2, it's easier than to get to 4 knots with version 1. Of course, I mean, we're talking so light that when I'm slugging, I'm barely doing 1 knot, I'm barely moving. Then I see a little gust coming, and then strong pumps. And it was again less resistance underwater from the version 2 that allowed me to get to this kind of planing, windsurfing board planing feeling. And once you get to that, the thing, you just keep pumping and the thing keeps accelerating and comes up. Instead, with the version 1, it was a little draggier, and I felt like, you know, you forgot one click of the handbrake in the car going, and so it wasn't getting to the 4 knot speed, whatever that was, as easy. So I bought the version 2, and I hope that the length and the struggle of this video showed you that both foils are really good. It definitely depends on personal preference, you know, weight, ability of the rider. There's also another consideration to be made. You know, I've been foiling for about 4 years now, from the very beginning with the Go foil stuff. And I noticed that every time I become better and I can handle higher speed, it's hard to go back to slower foils, you know. So that's what really also made me on the side, because the ollie comes up is easier, and then once it's up, it's going faster. It's kind of a no-brainer. It doesn't have that wonderful carvy feel, but I'm not going to repeat all the pros again, because that's about the 7th time in this video. I apologize, but again, a very hard test and very fun, and thank you so much for watching. Cheers.